So I've been playing Dino Crisis. Dinosaurs! Rawr! For kids and teens in the early 90s, these were like the coolest thing ever. Right up there with the Super Nintendo, hip-hop, the dissolution of Czechoslovakia, and all that other shit that happened around the time I was born. And yeah, I think I kinda get it. I mean, they're like lizards, but big, and they lay eggs as well, so they're also kinda like birds, I guess. Badass! And also, maybe this had something to do with a certain film that came out around the same time that was really popular and stuff, called Jurassic Park. Maybe you've heard of it. I, however, only just saw the movie quite recently, and, well, it was impressive to see the dinosaurs and stuff, but I don't know, it just didn't really click with me all that much. But it did totally have a reference to Pterodactyl's intro.
Hold on to your butt. Hold on to your butt.
So that's pretty cool, yo. But yeah, these reptilic motherfuckers were pretty popular during the 90s, and Capcom wanted in on that shit. And they just so happened to have a fairly successful survival horror franchise of their very own. So slapping some dino dick on there would make a lot of sense. Now, you don't have to be a scientist to see that all the games that Ubisoft makes all follow a similar formula. As Creed, The Crew, Watch Dogs, and Far Cry all do that thing where you need to climb towers to unlock parts of the world. They all have the same arbitrary upgrade system, they all have loot in one form or another, and at the end of the day, all you're doing is just repeating the same few things over and over in a slightly different setting. I don't really care much for it as it feels a bit too transparent to me, but it sells, so I can see why they keep repeating the same shit over and over. And back in the day, Capcom had a formula of their very own due to the high success of Resident Evil. I mean, Onimusha, Devil May Cry, and Dino Crisis all follow a similar pattern where you go around doing inventory puzzles, fending off enemies, and blah blah blah, you know what I mean. And sure, this accurately describes almost all survival horror games to an extent, but the fact that they were even using this formula in action games like Devil May Cry and Onimusha kinda makes it seem a bit more like they were just using it for recognition's sake at this point. But hey, it worked, and combined with the popularity of a bunch of dead lizards, it led to the release of Dino Crisis. The game's story takes place in the distant year of 2009 and is set on Ibis Island. This island houses a research facility thing, and of course everything has gone to shit and now dinosaurs freely roam the island. And it is up to the Secret Operation Raid Team, aka SWORD, to find out what's going on and arrest the scientist responsible for this mess. Now, just like the Resident Evil games of the time, the story is pretty fucking stupid. Our main characters, Regina, Gale, and Rick, are all uniquely incompetent and, just like the STARS unit, also written and voiced by people that may be a few steps down the evolutionary ladder. Although, all things considered, the voice acting actually isn't all that terrible, and as a result it also isn't very funny, which is kind of a shame considering how hokey the game is overall. I mean, compared to what the first 4 Resident Evil sound like.
Welcome, Claire!
This doesn't seem all that bad.
What are you doing here?
I caught the last part of your conversation.
By the way, I found a key.
Hand it over. Let's head outside.
But I doubt you'd see this shit win any awards either.
That's disgusting.
Now, of course, the comparisons with Resident Evil won't stop here, as the gameplay is also very similar. So, you're in a single area with multiple doors, most of which are locked, and you need to go around solving puzzles to acquire keycards and codes to open those doors. And just like what I said in my Resivalations review, this game functions around the one big puzzle principle, where the entire area you're in this case the research facility, is a constant space, so there's only a limited amount of items there and things don't usually spawn or respawn on a whim. And everything you do will always trigger some kind of sequence or event somewhere else. However, the puzzles themselves tend to be a wee bit different than what you might find in El Residente. Thing is that the puzzles are all about an unlocking system called DDK, which stands for Digital Disc Key. What it does is that it requires you to have two separate discs to be able to open certain doors. Those discs being an input disc and a code disc. Both will contain a bunch of letters, and what you need to do is eliminate the letters given by the code disc. So you just type in the letters you see at the top but skip the ones shown at the bottom. And these can be pretty difficult sometimes. I mean, the discs themselves aren't usually all that hard to find as all the items tend to float around, but the actual codes do get pretty crazy later on. For instance, at one point they'll start introducing numbers which could either refer to the position of said letter within the alphabet or even which row it's on. And while you do get hints as to what these actually mean, it still requires at least one or two more thoughts than your average survival horror puzzles. But still, the harder ones don't really start showing until near the end, and the DDK puzzles that only involve the letters are pretty easy once you get the trick behind it. Which, as I said, is just a simple elimination thing. Apart from that though, the puzzles are your typical survival horror fare. So you just need to find some things and use them on other things, like finding an ID card to access a computer. And there's also a few mini-gamey puzzles and the odd block puzzle here and there. The only difference here is that the facility you're in is rather small compared to your Spencer mansions and prison islands, so the distance between finding things and using things is a lot smaller, and you also tend to find a lot of shit in the same place as well. I mean, you enter a room and find a DDK disc, a key, and a puzzle item all on the same desk, which really makes the puzzles a lot easier than they would have been otherwise. Also, because of the smaller size, the game tends to resort to backtracking a lot to patch it out a little. Like, your crew members will use their walkie-talkies to tell you to come all the way back just to tell you something instead of just saying it over the radio. Shit like that just feels like unnecessary padding, and it really makes the backtracking feel extra backtracky. But yeah, puzzle-wise, the game is relatively easy. I never felt lost or anything like that, save for one instance where I didn't realize I had to use a keycard from the menu. I just kinda thought Regina would use it automatically. But either way, the game's difficulty definitely comes from the Dino dinkies instead of the puzzles. Thing is that instead of survival horror, Capcom dubbed this game survival panic. As in that you're walking around a hallway when, holy shit, a dinosaur dropped from the ceiling vent, This works really well as the dinosaurs are fast, loud, relentless, and they can kill you almost instantly. They will barge down doors, jump fences, break windows, and crush all the furniture. They will track you down using your scent or dismantle your weapons. They can jump out from anywhere at almost any given time, and perhaps most importantly, you'll instantly learn that shooting these guys won't do much and that you're better off running away. All of this really makes up for a lot of the backtracking, as you're at least kept on your toes while doing it. And also, panic really is the right word to describe this shit. thing is that unlike Resident Evil, Dino Crisis doesn't do pre-rendered backgrounds. So this gives them the opportunity to have dino poppage happen pretty much anywhere. And having to run away from these assholes is really, really intense because of the tank controls. I mean, you ever have one of those dreams where you're running away from a train or oncoming traffic, but it feels like your legs won't move because you're really just laying down in your own bed? Well, running from Dino Bros with tank controls pretty much feels just like that. The only thing they give you is a quick turn button, but other than that, it's pretty much just like running through molasses. You never feel in control of the situation, and that makes exploring the facility pretty intense. Really, you can pretty much die at any given time because of some reptilic asshole jumping out of the fucking kitchen cabinets. Unlike El Residente though, you do have the ability to pretty much save as much as you want, and you even get some resurrection items. So it kinda seems like they balanced out the amount of dying by giving death less of a penalty, which kept the game from being horribly frustrating. So yeah, Capcom pretty much nailed the panic bit of a survival panic game. But the survival aspect, however, seems surprisingly absent. I mean, because the focus seems to be on either shooting or running away, you kinda get showered with healing items. Ammo is still pretty scarce, sure, because you shouldn't really be shooting at them most of the time anyway, but health packs and resurrection thingies are fucking everywhere. Now, I get that this is probably done due to the fact that these dino dongs can pretty much kill you in 2 or 3 hits. But because I spent so much time running from them, especially early on, I really didn't get bitten all that much. In a way, I can kinda see that they took into account that some people might fuck up a bit at first by trying to fight them head on, so they made sure that those people still had the chance to make up for it later instead of being fucked over completely and having to restart. But for me, it became pretty clear during my first dino encounter that I was better off running away. I mean, I shot him a couple of times, he barely even flinched, and then he fucking jumped my ass. There wasn't really any room left for me to feel confident enough to take this asshole on. So I kinda feel that Capcom may have underestimated their own skill to teach the player, and as a result they may have made the game a bit too easy on accident. Apart from that, the game also has a few weird quick time event like things, though you wouldn't know that that's what they are, as the game just shows text saying danger at the bottom of the screen. So all you can really do is just pass your hands around over the controller hoping that one of the buttons actually does something. And well, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I mean, in a way it does kinda emphasize the feeling of panic, and I also never really died because of it. But on the other hand, giving button prompts without the button of promptage is kind of a dick move. All I know is that on Wikipedia it said that all you need to do is just press one of the action buttons repeatedly. So I guess spazzing out was the right thing to do anyway. Overall though, I did actually like it quite a bit. The stakes may have been lower overall, but considering how insanely OP the dinosaurs are compared to zombies, I'd say that that's totally okay. And it is a lot like the OG Resident Evils in the sense that it has that addictive puzzle-solvey arcadey monster shooty kind of thing going on. Especially because of how short a single playthrough is and death having less of a penalty. I mean, I played through almost the entire thing in a single sitting, and I don't do that very often. I just looked at my capture window when I was done and was surprised to see that I was playing for over 4 hours. So that must mean that the game does at least do something right. Or maybe I just have issues.